So welcome to chapter 1 friends, and in today's video we will cover these topics. So first of all we will check how to set up your local IntelliJ IDE. IntelliJ is the best IDE for learning and working in Java. So we'll see that. After that we will understand the basic syntax and structure. After that we will learn about declaration and access controls in Java. Then we will learn about different type of variables and different type of data types in Java. So basically there are primitives and reference types. So we learn about both of them. Then we will learn about operators and expressions. So we will learn about assignment operation, relational operator, arithmetic operation, conditional operator, logical operator, all different kind of operators and expressions we'll learn about. Then we will also learn about looping in Java. So we learn about flow control. We learn about different kind of loops. For example, for loop, while loop, do while loop, if else statements, switch case statements, break, continue. We learn about different kind of flow, how we can manage the flow of our Java program. This we will learn. And then we will learn about arrays engine. And a very important concept, which is static keyword and static block, that also we'll learn in come. So let's get started. So in order to download IntelliJ, you simply need to go to your Google Chrome browser and type download IntelliJ. Okay. So the first result that you will see will be the JetBrains website download page. So simply go on this page, and by default, it will show you the download option for IntelliJ Ultimate. That is a paid subscription. What you need to do is, instead of this top IntelliJ Ultimate, which is a paid version, you need to go slightly below, and you need to select this IntelliJ Community Edition. And then depending upon Mac or Windows or what you are using, for example, I'm using Mac with Apple Silicon. So I can simply go select here Apple Silicon. I can download. You can see that the download has started. So this is the best IDE to use. Once you download it, you simply need to run the installer and it will install the IntelliJ IDE for you. In my case, it is already installed. So what I will do is I will open. So once I double click it, it will launch for the first time in front of us. It is asking for approval. Once I approve it, we can see that it has launched. It will ask you to import settings. I would suggest not import any setting. Click on skip import, and then you will see this window. Okay. So if you want, you can take this onboarding, but my suggestion is simply click on this new project and create a project for learning Java. So we will name it learning Java, and you can choose the destination to save this project. So I have a code folder in my machine. I'll save it there. And then it will ask for a build system as well. We have in this course, in future, we have a topic on Maven. So until then, let's select the default build system, which is IntelliJ's inbuilt build system. Going further, and for enterprise level applications, and in further when we will learn microservices, then we can select Gradle, a Maven or Gradle, whatever you want. So for the time being, let's select the version of Java as Java 11. We'll talk about different versions as well, but this is the most popular as of now for enterprise level. Yeah, people are going forward with 17, some are going with 23. But yeah, with 11, you are good to proceed for the time being. Okay, so let's create the project. So we'll click on create, and we will see this window open in front of us. So let me expand it a bit for better visibility. So when the project opens, this is a .idea.ide folder, which is, IntelliJ specific settings. So you don't need to bother much about it. Whatever it has generated is optimal. What you need to bother is the SRC folder. This is where you will create create your code. So now let's create a basic, and now let's start writing code in Java, and then we will understand these, and then we will start learning Java slowly by slowly. So it is not like a theoretical course. We will mix theory and technical, both of the things together, so that you get the best feel of this course. Okay. So what we'll do is we will create a package inside this SRC folder. So let's call And the general naming convention for creating a package is the reverse name of your website. So in my case, my website name is hello1consulting.com. What I will do, I will put the reverse name of the website. What I will do is I will create a new package. Yeah. So it is asking here, it is asking for the name. So I will say com.hello world consulting. Once I hit enter, I can see this package created here. Now in this, we will create a class. So earlier when object oriented programming was not invented or not into picture, what people used to do, people used to write code in the form of line numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So any specific instruction to execute used to be numbered using line number. And this code used to go to, tens of thousands of lines. It can be endlessly going and going on in lines and lines. And sometimes you have to flow your code back also. So between any line, maybe 9 9 9 9 9 dot dot, you need to send the flow back to line number 2, and then from line number 3 you need to send the code back to some other line. So it used so so this approach becomes a nightmare to manage. Okay, so this is not the only so this is not the only motivation, but one of the motivation is, let's break this huge code into small parts. And how will you break it? So it was decided, or so this way object oriented concept was implemented, and let's break this code into classes. So how do you decide which code goes into which class? How many classes do you create? For this, object oriented principles help us decide. We will learn them more in the next chapter. But for now, you can simply understand that we structure our code into classes. So we will create maybe my class as our first class, and then we will my class as our first class, and then we will continue to learn about Java. So going back to the screen, what we will do here is we will create our class. So we will call our class my class. Okay. So this class has been created. So by default, the first line in the class is your package name. Your class belongs to which package. So you can understand package as arranging thousands of classes. So categorizing thousands of classes, for that we create packages. So we categorize classes according to different packages. Okay. So this is the syntax how you create a class. Now we will learn about everything. Why do we say public? So this comes under access modifiers. We'll talk about it. But for now, you can say that this is the way of creating class. So what do you write? You write public, and then class is a keyword in Java. So we learn what are keywords as well. And then it is, we say my class. So basically keywords are some predefined words which Java uses. So you can use those keywords to implement your logic. So these are some predefined words. So public is a keyword. It is used to define access. There can be different access: public, private, protected, and default. We'll talk about that in more detail. But for now, public signifies that this class is visible to everyone. Okay. So now the basic thing that we do here is we'll say public again, static void main, and then string arguments. So this public static void main string arguments is a method in this class, my class, and it is the entry point for you in the Java world. Okay. So whenever someone learns Java, first of all, he learns about this public static void main method. Okay. So public again is a method this method is accessible to the outside world. What other options are there? We learn more. What is static? Static is like static says that this method is there at the class level and not at the object level of this class. We'll learn what is the object, but for now you can understand it as something which does not change for different objects of that class. It is tied to the class level. Void is the return type. Suppose your method returns numbers, or it returns strings, or it returns decimal. Whatever it returns, you have to specify the return type here. Since our method is not returning anything, so we have mentioned it at void. And main is again a predefined method name, which if we use, it signifies that it is the entry point of this application. So as of now, I will just print a hello world method from this main method to show you how to get started, how to enter into the Java world, how to run your code. Okay, so what I will type is system.out.ln, and this is the famous statement which many founders of many programming languages use to run their first program. So the founder of C++ also ran this first program to print hello world. Founder of Java also ran printed this message as their first program. So let's do it as well. Okay. So then we can see this green button, which IntelliJ automatically identifies this public static void main as the default entry point for your application. And then if you run it, so it gives you an option to run. Once you click this green button, it will ask run it. And if you click run, you will see that your message hello world has been printed on the screen. Okay. So this is the convention here. This is how you launch your Java application, through the public static void main method. Okay. If you want to debug this program, what you can do is you can put a debug point here, and then instead of run, you can click debug. Okay. So what will happen is flow will reach this line and it will wait for you to continue. So you can use this green button to to execute ahead of this line, to execute uninterrupted ahead of this line. Or what you can do is, if you use this step over button, you can move line by line. So you can see that this line has executed, line number 6. Hello world has been printed, but the program is still not stopped, because we are at line number 7. We have not exited the program. Now, if we click it one more time, now we have exited the program. We can see that disconnected option is showing. And now we have disconnected from this program, and this program is terminated. Okay. So, this is the basic convention of getting started with Java, where you create a hello world application. Now we'll learn some more theory which will enable us or empower us to create more structured applications. So a little bit about packages. As I told, it should be in the reverse name of your website. If you don't have a website, you can say like my application as well. Any suitable name. The general rule here is you should not write any capital letters, and generally no special characters as well. But when you do this my application dot model or dot service or dot repository, so these are sub packages. Like we have subfolders inside a folder, that way we have sub packages inside a package. That way we have sub packages inside a package. So what do we use packages for? For arranging our code. Okay. So that classes with similar functionality live in a common package. That is, how you organize your. Okay. So the code that we wrote was public class, my class, and then we again had public static void main string arguments, and inside this we had system.out println, and then the famous message hello world. Okay. So public is an access modifier. Okay. The other options are, so the first one is public, then we have private, then we have protected, and then we have default. Okay. So we can see that public is used here as well, and public is used at the method level as well. Okay. So access modifiers have different meaning when they are used at different levels. For example, when at class level, if you created my class.java file, and in that you are writing this code, in that case, you cannot write private here. Okay. You can write public, you can write protected, you can write default. Private, it is not allowed, because the main class, because the main class of that file, because the file name should match with the main class present in that file. You can create another class in this method that you can call as private. So you can do private class, new class. So this class can also live in this main class.java. But because it is private, it will not create a problem. But the only public class in that .java file, its name should match with the name of the .java file. So this is a very important point to remember here. So if you create it protected, so if it is public, it can be accessed through any package. If you create it protected, then it can be accessed in that case, this class can be accessed. In that case, whatever is there in this class can be accessed in the classes of the same package, and plus some other classes which extend this class. So we'll understand what is extend later when we learn about OOPS concepts. So there is inheritance, and then we will understand extend. But for now, you can understand it as public for. So for now, you can understand. So public is, so if you create public, it can be accessed anywhere. So if you create a class private, whatever you define in that class can be used in that class only. So nothing can be accessed outside. If you create a class as protected, in that case, package level visibility is there. So it can be accessed within the package, its members, whatever you define that class can be accessed within that package. There is a correction here. So if we create default access, which means we don't specify any access, in that case, the access is package level. Okay, so whatever is there in that class can be accessed anywhere within the same package. And if we create protected, in that case, there is some additional visibility, which is, package level plus the subclasses of this class. So we learn what do we mean by subclasses when we learn inheritance. But the subclasses of this class can also access whatever is present inside this class. So this is, access modifiers. So these can be applied at class level as well, and they can be applied at method level as well. So when you create a method as public, it can be accessed anywhere. If you create it as private, it cannot be accessed anywhere. If you create it as protected, it can be accessed in the same package and subclasses. And if you don't give any access, if you don't write anything here, then it will be considered as default access, which will be package level access. So this is how you control access and visibility at class level and method level for your Java classes. So in your class, you can have as many methods as you want. For example, you have public class, my class. We already saw public, static, void, main, string arguments. So this is the argument which it takes. Now you can have another method. You can have a private int in method one. Suppose it takes two int as input, int I, int j. You can have another method which can be, protected. Suppose it returns a double method two. Suppose it takes a string as input, string s. So it should, by default, it should return you a double as well. And if you don't write anything, then in case, and your method also doesn't return anything, it can be void method 3. And suppose it takes a float as input. So this method will not return anything. So these are, since we didn't define any visibility here, so it will be considered as default. Okay. So this is, you can have as many methods in your class. So why don't we put all the methods in one class and only create one class for our complete enterprise level application? No, this is not the way our code is arranged. If we do this, we will be very close to the linear structure of writing sequential programs that was present earlier. So how do we decide which method should be present in which class? If I have 10 class and 50 methods, how do I decide which method should go in which class? So for this, we will learn OOPS, object-oriented programming system, OOPS concept in the next chapter, which will help us decide, which will give us some basic rules to discuss. But for now, this is how we structure our classes, we write our classes. So let's talk about Now let's talk about declaration. Suppose we have public class, right class. So this class can have some data members as well. We saw that they can have methods, but not just methods. They can have some data members as well. For example, it can have a private int. We can call it I. Again, it can have public int as well. We can call it J. Again, we can have a protected int as well. We can call it K. And if we don't write any access modifier and we say int L, then the same access control rules apply to class level. We saw they apply to method level as well. The same rules apply to the variables declared in your class. So they apply to this level as well. Public, private, protected, and default. So if you don't write anything, it will be default. So by default, you can understand that it is at the package level. So this variable L can be visible to other classes of the same package where my class is living. This variable I will not be visible to any other class. This variable J will be visible to all classes of all packages. And this variable K will be visible to classes within the same package as my class and child classes of my class, whether they are in any other packages. So we'll understand what is child classes. But this is how you declare variables at a class. We can declare these variables inside these methods as well. But in that case, we don't need to define any access control, because these are method level variables and they only live or come into existence when this method is called or when this method is being processed. As soon as the method is complete, execution of the method is complete, they die. Their existence has no meaning then. And there, in method level variables, we don't have, for example, if we have a public method, int my method, here you can define int I, int j, long, k, char, a, and then you can do some business calculations as well, and then return a result as well. But there is no need to define access visibility for these variables, because they will never be accessible outside this method. They will only come into existence, or their birth will happen when this method will be executed. And as soon as this method execution completes, they will die out. There will be no existence of these variables. Okay. So now let's learn what are different variables and data types. So different variables and data types in Java can be categorized into two types. So data types in Java can be categorized into two types. The first is primitive data type, and the second is reference data type. So I'm not listing down all the primitives here, but let's list down the most commonly used primitives here. So they will be byte, short, int, as we already saw, int, long, float, double, boolean, and char. Okay. So byte is just like integer, and its value lies from -128 to 127. Okay. Now short, so a byte can hold 8 bits of data. Similarly, short is can hold 16 bits of number or 16 bit of data. So its value varies from -3 to 768 to 3 to 767. I think it is approximately 2 to the power 16, and it is approximately 2 to the power 8. Okay. Now int is used to represent integer. You can have -20, -10, -200, 0, 1, 2, a long range for int. So it is basically used to hold integers. But what you cannot have is 10.5. This you cannot have, because this is not an integer. Okay. Similarly, for long, the range is much higher. So basically, it is like this is 8 bits, short is 16 bits, integer is 32 bits. So 2 to the power of 32. So its range is minus 2 to the power 32 to 0 to 2 to the power 32 minus 1. This is its range. Similarly, the range of short is also 2 to the power 16 minus 2 0 2 to the power 16 minus 1. And similarly for byte, it is minus 2 to the power 8 to 0 2 to the power 8 minus 1. Okay, so this is the range for integer. Now, long is even bigger than integer. So this is, a 64-bit number you can hold using long. So its range is minus 2 to the power 64 to 0 to, in the positive side, 2 to the power 64 minus 1. Why do we do minus 1 always? Because we have to accommodate 0 as well at all the places. That is why on the positive side, it is one number less. Okay. Now, float is also 32 bits. Bits means, it can have only two values, 0 and 1. So using this two values, and so using this 0 and 1 and 2 to the power of this 0 and 1, these values can be created. This is how, it works. So, full. So the range for float is, so the capacity of float is 32 bits, and it can take, floating numbers. For example, we can write 10.5 F, 11.1 F, or 11.223 F. So this is, kind of floating number. So double is, kind of a bigger floating number. So we have 64 bits. So here, you can have bigger floats, 1, 2, 5, 7, 7, 3, 2, 8. So this can range up to, 15 after the decimal. In this case of float, it can range up to 6 to 7 after the decimal. But for double, it can be, a bigger floating number. It can be positive, negative, both. Similarly, this can also be positive and negative. A Boolean can only be true and false, true or false. So it is used greatly in, implementing the business logic. So guess what will be the size of Boolean? Obviously, because it has two values, it will be 1 bit. So, okay, two values can be implemented using 0, 1. If it is false, it is 0, and if it is true, it is 1. So we only need 1 bit to represent a Boolean. Similarly, we have char. Size of char is 16 bit. Size of char is 16 bit, and it can have, characters as A or capital A, characters of this type. Char can. Okay.